Dun, dun, Minneapolis burning down, burning down. Minneapolis burning down. All right, looks like there's one waiting. Greetings, whomever you are. I'm just syncing up my YouTube channel so I can keep my eye on chat and all that. Whomever you are. Okay, my audio appears to be working. So today we're just going to talk quick about the thing Minneapolis. Of course, we had the Black Floyd thing. Is it George Floyd? Whatever his thing is. The trial is kicking off in Minneapolis, and I think they're actually to a point where they're going to come out with a verdict. And people, of course, are protesting in Minneapolis and doing all sorts of things. And the police apparently at this point in time thought it would be great that they could just go back to business as usual, pulling over anybody who's black in a particular neighborhood for whatever reason. And there's this longtime veteran police officer lady who shot the guy in the chest for basically nothing. So that, of course, sparked some more controversy for good old Minneapolis and Minnesota, my lovely town. So we're going to take a look at that. But I also did want to mention, people who comment, I appreciate all the comments and everything on my videos, but I literally get notifications that people comment, and I click the little bell and I can read part of the comment. And then you have to click it again to open it up and go to the comment and reply. And I watch them disappear. I click on it, it disappears. Just how it is. So I don't know how you can get around that. I guess maybe reword the comment, comment multiple times, whatever. If I catch it, I'll usually, Hannah had a comment that I watched was deleted. And all I can do is make a comment myself, unless you have a channel that I can go and comment on your channel. All I can do is make a post saying, hey, try to recomment again because it deleted it. And maybe if you respond to my pinned comment, maybe it won't delete it. I don't know. So that's been going on now for a couple months. It is how it is. Also, if any people have any questions, I put up a pretty long, hour-long like cryptocurrency vid, just kind of a general overview of what is Bitcoin and why people should get into it. Essentially, it's just like, think of it as gold and preserving your wealth. So there's that. Yeah. So what's going on with this now? So apparently, so during these riots, they're not really riots, they're protests. Okay. This isn't Black Lives Matter doing this. This is community members in Minneapolis and Brooklyn Center, and people are protesting, the George Floyd thing. All right. And amidst all of that, Brooklyn Center police thought it was a good idea to pull over black people for no reason. And they had this unfortunate accident here where this lady shot this guy. And the interesting thing about this case is I look at this as a karma case for this particular person who did this, because this lady is someone who's been on the force for a very long time. And actually, her job is to, when police shoot somebody, her job is to go in there and tell the cops what to say. She's the union president or something. And apparently there was an incident about a year ago, or maybe a little longer, where a couple of police officers shot an autistic guy, and they said, well, he had a knife or something. But it's like, you really don't have any excuse ever to shoot an autistic person, even if they have a knife. If there's nobody that they're threatening or anything, it's apparently they were disabled too. So it's like they were like in a wheelchair or something. And there's a little controversy about that. And of course, nobody got charged with anything in that. So maybe this is a little bit of a karma coming around. The video, the chest video for what happened in the entire counter is actually on all the news everywhere. And it looks to me like, even if she was attempting to tase this person, you don't have a right to tase the guy just because he puts up a little bit of a fuss. The guy had a warrant on him for missing a court date. Okay. That doesn't give you the right to just tase him, even if he wants to jump in his car and take off. Okay. Now you charge him with fleeing the police, and then you just follow him. You know who the guy is. There is nothing that really warrants tasing the guy, especially when you see in the cam footage, there's like 5 police there. And the other interesting thing about this case is that no one can quite figure out why the guy was even pulled over in the first place. And you have one report where the guy is talking on the phone to his brother, trying to get his mom on the phone for the insurance information for the car. So you have another story that says he was pulled over because his tabs on his car was expired. You have his family that says no, the police told him that it was because he had air fresheners dangling from the rear view mirror, and that's why he was pulled over, right? And you have all this stuff. None of that was he was pulled over because he had a warrant. It was the warrant came in after the fact, after they had already been sitting there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, according to the person who was on the phone with the guy who got shot. So the whole thing is fishy as hell, right? Now, I want to talk about this particularly because this isn't of course it's terrible the guy got shot, but it just goes to show you what happens in these areas. Just because Brooklyn Center is mostly a black neighborhood now, but it's also very close to North Minneapolis where there's a lot of crime. And just because like 80%, 70% of the young people there are criminals or up to shady stuff or whatever, doesn't mean you just get to treat everybody like that. Okay. Especially if they're in a car, you don't know where those people are from. And this is the mentality of the Minneapolis police officers. And with the whole George Floyd thing, I'm like, well, good. The city council wants to disband the police. I don't think they have the power, but good. They should. And people here are finally getting the point. Okay. Not everything that is going on in the world is bad, guys. Not everything is bad. People are waking up in other areas. All right. People are like, no, this is wrong. And we're going to riot and burn your police headquarters down. They burned down the Brooklyn Center police headquarters again. And they're going to do all these things because it's not right. And they're absolutely, and it got results. Immediately after this incident happened, the guy who's the city manager for Brooklyn Center is kind of the manager of the police force. He was immediately fired. There isn't this guy had nothing to do with anything, but he's the manager, fired. Okay. Then word came down to that the police chief was going to get fired, and the person involved here, this Holly Potter or something, word came down that they were going to get fired. So they handed in their resignation because, they want their retirement. And apparently they didn't accept the resignations and charged her with second-degree murder. Good. Okay. Good. This is what needs to happen in cases like this, where you have questionable uses of force. And what else happened? Of course, now people are really rioting in Brooklyn Center, as they should be. Okay. Now the mayor is he put the deputy city manager in charge, and the mayor basically said that they have a ban. They actually passed emergency legislation that says you're not allowed to use tear gas. You're not allowed to use rubber bullets and something else. You're not allowed to use all this stuff in riot control anymore, or protest control, or whatever they want to call it. And it's like, good. This is the kind of things that need to happen when you have this government abuse and you have these things where, 10 years ago, no one would even look twice at this. 10 years ago, it'd be like, oh, the hero female cop veteran doing her job and putting her life on the line to make sure that, Tyrone didn't get away. It's ridiculous, and it's a shame and horrible. But now good things are happening. This has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter and any of that political stuff. This has to do with the people. And Minnesota is really messed up in a lot of ways, but it's good to see that they're on the track here. And a lot of people that are in kind of a truther movement stuff, a lot of people would say that, oh yeah, they're trying to get rid of the police because of some other sort of idea they have. They're going to replace it with something worse and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, you always, if you're trying to put through tyranny, you always want to have boots on the ground, and you always want to make sure that they're really mind controlled and really subservient. When you have police that are start to worry now, if they actually pull their gun or they pull their taser or they pull anything, if they could be held personally liable for the damages that they do to someone, maybe that's going to stop them from roughing people up for no reason. Maybe they'll stop pulling over people and harassing them because of the color of their skin, which happens all the time. It happens just if you're in the wrong neighborhood. I lived in North Minneapolis, and I was harassed by the police on many occasions because I'm a white guy. And they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I live here." Okay. Greetings, everyone here. Josh, how am I doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing great because crypto's up. Great, great, great. Unashamed Woken Brigades are at it again. Sure. Scott Wells says cops have a serious problem with people not bowing down and kissing their feet. Well, here's the thing is you take people that don't have a whole lot of power in their actual lives, and they don't have a lot of things that they really, feel good about, maybe hobbies or something like that, a whole lot of talents, and they're not very powerful in their own life. And then they give them a badge, they have instant power, and that's, some personalities can't handle that. And when you have these bigger cities, especially crime-ridden ones like Detroit or Chicago or North Minneapolis, nobody wants to work those jobs because they're union jobs. Your wage is set. You can't really pay people more for being, you can kind of do a hazard pay kind of thing, but you're getting paid the same as some guy who is a cop in Woodbury or something, where there's nothing going on. And the people in Minneapolis, those cops are risking their lives in a lot of occasions because there's a lot of stuff going down. A lot of people on drugs and a lot of people, it's pretty bad. Okay. Again, it takes better quality police officers to handle those situations, but the good quality police officers don't want those jobs. So you hire, you kind of hire people to cover the shift, right? And, sorry to say to any police officers out there, but when you're in those big cities, if you score too high on the IQ test, they won't hire you. And there's been lawsuits about that. You can look them up on the internet, where if you actually score above average intelligence, they call it too qualified or something. I don't know. But that's the thing. They want people who will follow orders, who don't have a sense of morals. Their morals are whatever the chief or the boss or the governor tells them to do. Okay. And it's what it is. It has to come down to the quality of the people. And it also comes down to the quality of the people that live in the community. Some places, America is kind of like the land of the slave, in that everyone is kind of put themselves in their own little slave box for whatever reason that is. Everyone's scared of the state, scared of the government. Oh, if they're going after them, the government must be right automatically, and that's kind of the mentality that they're in. But if you go to other places where state doesn't have the supreme Orwellian authority, the police are pretty afraid of the people, where if they mess up and people are watching them, they take personal retribution on the police. If they strung a police officer up, the state's not going to swoop in with the National Guard or anything. They're just going to be like, well, I guess old Bob kind of messed with the wrong people. Okay. And that's how communities police themselves. When you have an overreaching state that's completely funded, or mostly funded by the federal government, they all got assault rifles and all this stuff. Everyone, is afraid of it. But finally, in some of these places, the people have finally kind of had enough. And we're no longer in this era of war on drugs anymore. We're not in this era where everything is a crime. We're not in the 3 strikes, you're out. They're actually releasing a lot of people from prisons because they can't afford to house them anymore with the way that the economy and everything is going. So they have to get away from all this stuff. And now, of course, they're doing the social justice and everybody's equal and the transgender. And you got this whole thing. Well, one of the things that comes out of that also is the police are really getting looked at for how they treat different peoples in society. Right. And, they deserve it. In Minneapolis, those are some of the biggest scumbags I've ever met. And I can only speak to my personal experience in that, but it's not just Minneapolis, it's Hennepin County, really that whole county. which it also encompasses some the highest class neighborhoods in like Minnetonka and some other ones up in there. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, where the Mall of America is and things like that. It encompasses all of that. And that's like, man, these guys are like really bad, really thuggish, right? Really thuggish, where you're immediately going to go to the baton and start beating people up. It's like, and it's good that things like that are changing. Isaiah, are all cops Masons? No. They wear a Masonic uniform. Everything having to do with the government and the state is all that Masonic stuff, but nobody knows that. I mean, nobody knows any of that. Same with the military, same with any sort of an organization that you take any sort of an oath for. That's why the Bible says you're not supposed to take oaths for things. Yeah, the good old war on drugs. So for anyone who's not, I mean, this story is pretty well national news for because the George Floyd thing is going on at the same time. But for anyone who's unaware, we'll just read part of the article here. Former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter shot 20-year-old Dante White in the chest during a Sunday traffic stop while she was training with other officers. She was out. You're going to wonder, like, why is the head of the union and a 26-year veteran out pulling people over in traffic stops? That's like an entry-level police job. And she was training somebody. Told you, karma, it'll get you. You think that you're getting away with something. You know, I probably shouldn't do this, but it's a one-time thing, and I don't know. Like with this, and this is just speculation, fantasy stuff from old Max. But when she was dealing with where her officers, friends of hers, had shot and killed an autistic guy, and they're kind of deciding what they're going to say. In her mind, she probably went, well, you shouldn't have done that. But she's also probably thinking, well, he's dead, so what good could possibly come of getting my officers in trouble, right? So she's, rather than doing the right thing, she's like, well, the guy's dead now, so we'll just say what we need to say, right? And this is what happens. It comes back and gets you. Where she's in this exact situation now, except now there's body cams. And they actually, I thought for sure that they wouldn't do anything to her. Nope, they charged her with second degree murder, second degree manslaughter, which is a whoopsie, I killed somebody. And I don't think she's gonna, do any time or anything like that. But it's good that she was immediately charged. There wasn't any screwing around. You know what happened with the guy with George Floyd? They put him on like paid leave, and like 2 weeks later decided to bring him in and charge him, which is completely unacceptable. That guy should have been immediately thrown in jail, right? You can say you at least need to grab this guy, put him a day in jail so he goes in front of a judge and they decide bail, and they decide whether or not he's going to wear an ankle monitor. They're going to decide all this stuff and what the charges are going to be, not like sit around, play around and talk to the union and figure out what they're going to. No. Somebody shoots somebody accidentally, they got to go to jail and go in front of a judge. Even if they're let out an hour later, you have to have a judge say, this is your stipulations of letting you out while this is happening. And they did the right thing. They pulled her right away. They didn't accept her resignation. They charged her with second degree murder. Okay. Which in her case, if you watch the body cam, a lot of people would say that, it was an accident or this and that. It's like, it doesn't matter. She's still responsible. Yeah. Show me the truth, said she reaped what she sowed. I believe so. And they're requesting now for her entire 26-year record to be brought out to see if there is any sort of, it sounds in this article like they had a little bit of a problem with the racial profiling with this particular person. And I don't know how much is to that. I know the police there. Okay. Yeah. Um, that being said, profiling to some certain extent at a personal level exists, right? People are prejudiced of things. You're walking down the street and you have a gang of thuggish looking people on your side of the street where you're walking. You might cross the street and go walk on the other side. Okay. Just like if you see a group of thuggish, suspicious looking people, you'll probably keep a closer eye on them than, when something is going on, than something else. But like pulling people over in traffic stops and stuff like that, it's like there isn't any threat there. It's just, oh, black guy, pull him over. Right? We'll find something. We'll find something, because the way that the justice system works, right, is you make everybody a criminal. Everybody's got to be a criminal. And how do you do that? You charge them with completely ridiculous stuff and say, well, you can sit in here and fight it for 6 months, or you can get out today. You just got to be on 10 years probation, right? And say that you did all this stuff. And you read this completely fabricated police report of all these things you supposedly did so you can get out of jail that day. Okay, then that goes in your record, and then you're on probation, which basically means they can reel you in at any time. So they just pull over, black skin, pull them over. Oh, no kidding. You've got a warrant, because they didn't never do probation. They never show up to probation place. Oh boy, you got a warrant, reel them back in. So when the state needs the money, they go around and they canvass the neighborhoods, right? And arrest people for everything, because everybody's on probation. And that's how the prison industrial complex works. But no one's got any money to pay for this stuff anymore. So now they're untraining the police to say, now you can't round them up anymore. You can't round them up anymore. We can't pay for any of that. And so this is the result. Potter said in a resignation letter she had loved every minute of being a police officer and serving the community. Well, the community is not very happy with her. Here's the thing. There is nobody, I bet she doesn't live in Brooklyn Center, right? That's the other thing too, is you have police officers from all over the place who go into these places, total foreigners. It's kind of like being policed by people from China, right? Total foreigners with no idea about the neighborhood, no idea what's going on, who come in and they're going to enforce things on the people who live there. There isn't anybody who is out there sticking up for this lady. Okay. You know what? The state and the Brooklyn Center police, they built a fence around her house. I mean, that sends a really bad signal, as in like, oh, if you're with the state is just going to barricade your house when you shoot somebody. The proper response would have been, they'll put her up in a hotel somewhere so people can't find her. But no, they built a literal, like, a baseball cage around her property. Anyways, there's nobody out in front of her property with a sign going, free Holly, right? Nobody's saying free Holly. If police are so wonderful, where are all the people that are like, free Holly? Holly made a mistake. Holly's great and Holly's a nice person. They ain't there. She is charged with second-degree murder or manslaughter, probably manslaughter. Where's the people for the guy who was stomping on George Floyd? Where are the people out there saying, no, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. You protesters don't know what you're talking about. They ain't there. Where's all the YouTube videos about how wonderful Holly is? Where's all the YouTube videos about people on their side? They ain't there. Tim Gannon, the Brooklyn Center police chief, who also resigned Tuesday, has said Potter meant to fire her. She meant to fire her taser at Wright. He called the shooting an accidental discharge. This, I believe, is why Tim Gannon had to resign, is because he shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said she accidentally shot him. And I think that was why he had to resign, because he should have said, well, we're reviewing the evidence and doing an investigation. We don't know what happened yet. That's the correct response. When you start saying the narrative and these people are given the narrative. Okay. That's how all this works. Your boss has his lawyers give you the narrative. This is what you say. Instead, he said, well, she accidentally shot him. Now they're like, there's nothing they can do. So he had to resign. Because he didn't have anything to do with it, right? That's my opinion of why the guy had to resign on that. But, he is responsible. And they took they took the head of the city manager down, who has his job since 2003, right? So almost 20 years, got him out of there. And good. Honestly, I'm like, get rid of all the police, right? That's crazy me. But yeah. Activists said that was no excuse with her years of experience. Potter should have not made that mistake. And now they want more than her resignation. They want to make sure, well, she's getting charged, or she's charged with murder. But the other thing too is when you look at the video, as I had mentioned, is she had her gun out the entire time. She wasn't like she just pulled her taser. It wasn't like she just pulled her taser out the moment that the guy, he was getting cuffed. And then she touched him and he pulled his arms out and hopped in his car and she shot him. But she had her gun out the entire time. It's not like she just quick drew it and pop. No, she had her gun out the entire time. And it's like, you didn't notice it was a gun as opposed to a little plastic crappy taser. I don't believe that. And it looks almost to me like if you wanted to shoot somebody and get away with it for the thrill, you would do something like that and say, oh, it was an accident. I didn't. I thought it was a taser. It was an accident. That's just what it looks like to me, because you don't have a reason to taser somebody at that point. Even if if she had her taser out instead of had her pistol, but even if she had a taser out that whole time, she doesn't have the right to do that. He was complying. It wasn't right until the very end, after he was shot, that there was any sort of an issue. So she had no reason to even have any weapon drawn. So that's the big deal. Probably why she was charged with second-degree murder, because it wasn't like a spur of the moment, pow. She had her gun out the entire time. It looked to me like they were planning to kill him for whatever reason. This doesn't look to me. And like I said, I don't study this stuff like nonstop here, but I watched the video a couple of times and I'm like, I know how these arrests kind of go and where their due process is and where their stuff is. And I'm like, they didn't have any reason to pull a taser on the guy just for not having a warrant for missing a court date. And he was complying. They were in the process of handcuffing him. So you shouldn't have had a taser out. And the crime that he was was charged with was having pot and having an unregistered gun. Big deal. In Brooklyn, I mean, it's, oh my gosh, he has a gun. Guys, it's America. You shouldn't even have to register your guns. It's America. Guns are all over the place. Big deal. They didn't think it was a big deal. They gave him a court date. Okay. They gave him a court date. If this guy was violent, he wouldn't be out walking around on the streets. They'd keep him. Nope. For the 48-year-old Potter being an officer extended far beyond going out on patrol, also rose to become a local union president and traveled across the strait with Minnesota law enforcement. Memorial Association's Honor Guard, which marches at funerals and memorials for officers killed in the line of duty. Well, that's probably not a very busy job. The Minneapolis does a lot of killing. They don't go the other way, though. It's pretty rare. Some Brooklyn Center residents say her decision to pull right over on Sunday was yet another example of law enforcement targeting black men in traffic violations. Yeah. It's fishing, highway robbery, and fishing. Marquita Butler, a member of the city council, said numerous black men, including her own brother, complained to her that the police had racially profiled them. Yeah, a lot of the people the mayor is black in Brooklyn Center now, and the city manager, the deputy who took over, And they're not like the New World Order black. They're like, I think, actual real people. I mean, that stuff is not going to fly with actual real people that aren't completely controlled in any sort of power. That's what the city councils, depending on the election, of course, elections, why waste your time with them? But apparently in city councils are not bought off yet, because if the city council in Minneapolis was a New World Order city council, they would not have gotten rid of the police and defunded them. They defunded them by like 30% or something, a huge amount, And they're working on redoing how the police system works in Minneapolis, and they're doing all this stuff. And now you have this thing in Brooklyn Center. They're like, okay, you're all fired. And they're really taking charge. And that's wonderful. And that needs to be commended. And, obviously I don't know about this lady, but if she hasn't had any problems in 25, 26 years, yeah, you should be charged with your crime. You should do your 6 months or your year, if that's what you have to do, and then get out. I mean, an accidental homicide is kind of like, well, I don't want her to burn and hit the electric chair or do 20 years or 30 years. No, but you got to be responsible for it. Losing your pension is probably about right, and, face the music, as they say. Butler said, as the city works to recover from Wright's death, she wants to make it easier to file complaints with the police department and to reimagine what police looks like. Elliott, the city's first black mayor, has said he wants to establish closer connection between the community and the police. He pointed out that among the city's roughly 50 police officers, very few are people of color and none live in Brooklyn Center. See, now I skimmed this article because I couldn't find the ones that I had read yesterday. Skimmed it. Right when I first started speaking about the police officers in Minneapolis, I said, bet none of these guys live here. None of them live in Brooklyn Center. So it's like, let's just bring in people from India and bring in people from China, and we'll bring in people from Mexico to go police the streets of Brooklyn Center or your neighborhood, right? It's one of those things that, like, about politicians and politics, one thing that can be said about that is generally you're required to actually live in the place that you are presiding over. And it's not the same everywhere with every different position, but like for Senate and representatives and stuff, you actually have to live in the place of the people that you represent. And of course, a lot of people fake it, whatever. But that's a very important point. How are you supposed to represent people for the wishes and you don't even live in the territory? You don't even live in the neighborhood. If you're in a position like a police officer where everyone hates you in Brooklyn Center, you're like, I don't care. That's Brooklyn Center. I live over here in Woodbury. I don't care. I live in my $400,000 5-bedroom house, and I don't care what goes on in Brooklyn Center. I'm cleaning house. I'm just cleaning house. Right? And then you can helicopter out to your little safety zone, 30, 40 miles away, where you don't have to deal with the people that you're arresting all the time. Jonathan Mason, who mentored Wright while he was in high school, said the other community activists are seeking the release of Potter's service record, including potential complaints about her previous interactions with residents of color. The city has so far not responded to any such record requests, including the Associated Press. Well, they're not going to have to worry about it because in the trial, it's going to come up. All that stuff is going to come up. Potter's attorney, Earl Gray, Potter's attorney, the T, did not return telephone call seeking comment. Minnesota public records show Potter obtained her license to become a police officer in February 1995. So she's, I don't want to say diversity hire, but in 1995, kind of is like that. Is like, why? Here's the thing too, is why a female police officer in like Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, where you're dealing with a lot of thuggery and a lot of big black people who are kind of scary. And you would see, a 5-foot tall white lady probably lives in like Woodbury or some nice area. Her first go-to instinct at any sign of confrontation is going to be to pull a gun, because what else can they do? I mean, you ever notice that they hire police officers? You have to be like 6'2" to be a cop. That's for a reason. That's so you don't have to shoot people. You can actually manhandle them, grab them, throw them down, handcuff them, whatever you have to do. Then you don't have to shoot them. Well, if you're a 5'2", 150-pound woman, you have to shoot them because there's nothing else you can do. Women shouldn't be in those positions, especially in these more crime-ridden, violent crime-ridden neighborhoods. A lot of burglaries, robberies, which is the same, stealing people's stuff, except there's a victim involved with a person. Burglary, there's no victim. It's a property crime, but they're actually robbing people. A lot of thugs out of like Chicago and stuff in that area. And yeah, why should really women police officers be doing that? And I don't know. I'm also of the opinion that no, police shouldn't have guns. They should have the guns in their car. And if they're coming to what could be a violent encounter, then they can unlock their gun from the car and register that they remove their gun from the car, and then they can carry their gun. But if they're walking in to go catch a shoplifter at Walmart, do they need to have the guns? They need to have that stuff. If they're pulling someone over on the side of the road and the guy doesn't have insurance, right? Or the guy's got a warrant and you need to arrest him, do you need to have your gun on you just so you can pop somebody? Because what's the worst that can happen? The guy drives off. So what? You write it down in the record. He fled the scene. And the next time someone catches up with him, he gets charged with that too. Right? A big problem of this is television, which we're going to talk about after I get through this article here. But people are so programmed to believe that there's just these maniac murderers and rapists and all this stuff out there, and there really isn't. You have that stuff in the big cities, and it's criminals killing other criminals. Very rare is somebody who is not in like the gang scene or in these drug cartel sort of things that they're killing anybody. Okay. That's more likely going to be, the husband bumping off the wife or the wife bumping off the husband for some kind of money scam. That's what happens. So why do they got all these guns? All right. Minnesota Public Records show she obtained her license in 1995. In 2019, the year she became union president, she guided several other officers through the aftermath of a police shooting at a man with autism. Just coincidentally, when she became union president, you don't think that maybe she guided them with get the cops out of jail and then became the union president? I'd be interested to know the precise sequence of events in that one. She arrived on the scene soon after the officers fatally shot the man who had allegedly tried to stab an officer with a knife, the report said. Sounds terrible until you find out he had autism, and I think he was in a wheelchair. After the medics arrived, Potter instructed the two officers who shot the man to get into separate cars, turn off their body cams, not speak to each other. Well, that's standard advice. Later, acting as union president, she accompanied two officers who were at the scene during the shooting when they were interviewed by investigators. So she was there acting as the personal lawyer, I guess. Through the years, the police department recognized Potter for actions in several dangerous situations, according to Sun Post, the local newspaper. In 2014, she responded to a house fire and was credited with helping save 9 people inside. In 2016, she was part of a group of officers who responded to several violent crimes, including one in which officers tried to save the victim's life while also gathering testimony. Okay. Potter's husband is another cop. Kim Potter was an instructor with Brooklyn Center Police, according to the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. She was training two other officers. I was wondering why there was like 5 of them. She was training 2 other people and shot a dude on a routine traffic stop, a non-violent guy who is a criminal because he missed a court date. Okay. Body cam video shows one of the other officers begin to arrest Wright, who had been issued a warrant for his arrest. The warrant was for his failure to appear in court on charges that he fled from officers and possessed a gun without a permit during an encounter with the Minneapolis police forces in June. This is even lower than what I thought it was. His family had said something about, he was on probation for pot. But essentially, the police said, oh, there's some black people, and go, hey, you. And then when the black people run away, they charge them with fleeing police. Okay. And if they don't find any reason to charge them with anything, they just let them go, because you don't have to like talk to the police. You don't have to even acknowledge their existence. They need warrants to do shit. They need probable cause. So anyways, they said, hey, you, and he took off because he knows he's carrying a gun. It shouldn't be. That's it. They caught up to him and then charged him with that. If they didn't find anything on him, he wouldn't have been charged with fleeing the police. You get charged with fleeing the police when you're engaged in an active crime. They didn't know the guy had a gun. They probably would have shot him if they did. Okay. So this is a pure nonviolent offense. Oh, it's terrible. He had a gun though. It's like, yeah, the guy's 26 years old. Why can't he have a gun? It wasn't registered though. I was like, so how many unregistered guns does your family own? Do you think every time somebody dies, do you take all of their guns and go to the police station and register all that stuff? Does anybody do that? Just out of curiosity. And my family doesn't have a lot of guns. They're all good state communist people. But I'm just saying, there are a lot of people out there that, hunt, and they have like 15 guns, and that person passes away or something, and the guns just kind of disappear and go off to different family members. Do people actually go and take those things and register them? Yeah. In the video report from Potter's body cam, she tries to assist the officer in arresting Wright, placing her hand on Wright's arm, but then he makes a break for her car and gets behind the wheel. Not really. He kind of, he jerked his hand out when they're handcuffing him. She touched him for whatever reason, and that made him jerk his hand out. And he kind of, rolled into the front seat and got shot. And then you see the car going forward. And whether or not he did that, or whether or not he bumped the car into drive or whatever, he got shot in the heart. So he was dead within 10 seconds. So I don't know. You look at the video for yourself. But again, why did she have her gun out the entire time? Meanwhile, Potter pulls out her handgun. No, the handgun was out. Handgun was out. And yells, I'll tase you, taser, taser, taser. That is something you yell for the body cam so you can shoot somebody. And then go, whoops, see, I thought it was a taser. I yelled taser, taser, taser. I didn't know it was my Glock. Okay? As it makes it very, very suspicious. I didn't know it was my whoopsie. Whoopsie. I yelled taser. Oh, I just was mistaken. Even though my taser weighs about a third as much and it's on a different hip. And I actually had my Glock out during the entire confrontation. I yelled taser, so therefore I thought it was a taser. After Potter fires a single shot, the car speeds away. No, it rolled forward about 10 feet. Potter is heard saying, holy shit, I shot him. On Wednesday, Potter was booked into Hennepin County Jail. She later posted $100,000 bond, which I will add is laughable for murdering somebody. There's a guy in Glencoe who got a $300,000 bond for having a pound of meth or something. Non-violent criminal, but he had a pound of meth. And his bail is $300,000. This lady shoots somebody, and her bail is $100,000. Wasn't the bail for the guy who was stomping on George Floyd something like $100 million or something? It was something so ridiculous that there's no way anyone could come up with the money. They really wanted that guy. $100,000. It's okay, Holly. You go home. You've had a rough day. According to online records, concrete barriers and chain link fencing surrounding the green lawn of her home in Champlin. Yes, very, very hoity-toity upper middle class area. A suburb that sits along the Mississippi north of the Minneapolis, with 2 police vehicles there guarding her. Well, that's a great use of taxpayer money to go protect the lady, but whatever, that's what they're doing. I'm just happy that they are taking care of the situation. And well, let's see what happens. It should just be a message, especially I think I said this about the George Floyd thing, where it should be a message if you work in law enforcement capacity of anything, they're not on your side anymore. You can't just go out with reckless abandon and think, "Oh, I'm president of the United States, man. I got me a little badge." And no, they're not having that anymore. They don't have any money for that. It's done. You actually have to treat people as human beings. And yeah, so it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. We'll take a look at chat for a bit, and I want to talk about a different subject. Rob Crobert says there's a war on everything. Correct. There is a war on everything and a war for everything. And really, you can choose to engage in that or you can choose to not. And I don't. I don't care anything about their gene manipulation therapy they want to give everybody. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm not going to engage in that. It's pointless. And the reason that I want to say, like, why is it so hard to wake people up, and why can't people see what's going on? And it's like I am pretty well convinced that the what you're going to find between people who have some semblance of what is going on in the world and the people that seem to be completely out of it is television. All right. So I don't know, or I don't really care how many people out here are watching me who watch television. If you do, you need to stop. Period. There isn't any sort of thing there. You need to stop watching television. Now, if there's programs on there that you enjoy, programs, right? I mean, I watch programs as well that I enjoy. Or if you watch sports or something, find a way to get it where you're not getting bombarded with all of the garbage on the television, right? Download it off the internet where there's no commercials or something. Get the game after it's played. And if you're hanging out with friends and watching a game or something, you're not really watching all of the propaganda and stuff. You're mostly talking to your friends. But if you're just sitting there and don't act like that's not what you look like when you watch television, because you do. You don't have a right then to wonder why Uncle Bob can't find Christ, or why people think it's a great idea to go get gene therapy shots, right? When people are huffing and puffing with the diapers on their faces, that's why. It's television. That's why. All of that psychological programming is going straight through that frontal lobe that you get to decide what's good and what's bad. It goes straight through that back into your subconscious. And that's why it's completely oblivious to me, is why people wouldn't wake up for the longest time. It's because I haven't watched TV in 15 years. Okay. I watch the stuff, and, if I catch part of the snippet of CNN or a snippet of Fox News or something, I get physically angry at the amount of lies that's in that. I can't even handle television. I'll watch movies and things like that, or streaming a thing or download something off of the internet. Doesn't have a lot of extra stuff in it. It's bad enough, right? It's bad enough. But I can't imagine watching daytime network programming with all of the commercials and all the nonsense in it. Get to watch the new shows. If you watch like soap operas, they're all wearing masks and all this crap. Okay. Totally social engineering everybody. And if people like watch more than a couple hours of television in a week, they're basically beyond hope. There isn't anything you can do until they turn off the television. That's my own personal beliefs on that. Okay. But it's looking, there's that. And then there's also, some other sin things in there where people can't see things because of what they're engaged in. And that's how it is. All right. Obviously we aren't here to experience like we're not meant to be living on this planet just to be slaves and to be, sucked off of by these vampires and all these, Rockefeller types and all the New World Order. We're not here just to be pawns in their little game. You have to actively want to participate in that. And the television tells you that's the way that you're supposed to be. And this is what life is, right? This is what life is, arguing over who can use what bathroom, right? This is what life is. Who can use what bathroom, right? Oh, did you see what Biden did? Did you see what Orange Man did? That's what the television tells you. That's what life is. And that is not it. You're never going to get anywhere with that. You're never going to get anywhere with that. And you look at like the most successful people or people that you admire or look up to. I bet none of them watch television. Okay, your celebrities or whatever, and all of that stuff. Johnny Depp was a pretty big guy for movies for a long time. Okay. Not saying Johnny Depp is great or Johnny Depp is this or that, but he was asked one time what he thinks about his performances in his movies, like going all the way back to the beginning. And he's like, I have no idea. I don't watch movies. Okay. The people that are involved in that stuff know what it is and they don't watch it. The same thing was said about Christopher Walken too. These guys, they don't participate in that because they know what it is. Good movie to watch on that regard is a movie called The Network that was done in the 1970s. Jeff Berwick from Dollar Vigilante brought that up in his most recent video, and I forgot all about it. But yeah, the movie The Network is all about, what television is and what it's designed for, and that's it. It's to break your brain and make you think this reality is the way that it's supposed to be. And that's why people can't think. Show me the true set of crime goes up. Could be like Charles Bronson in Death Wish. Well, it already is in places where there isn't police officers. That's why they're very safe places to live. In America, you think about it, why would a country where everybody owns a gun need to have police officers? Okay, you have people that you pay to be on duty when everyone else is sleeping, and people to have carry insurance policies in case they screw up. That's what the cops are there for. They have an insurance policy. We screw up, they bill the insurance, the cop gets fired. Okay, that's what it is. But they don't have any more rights than anybody else. If everybody carries guns, who is going to be the one to try and rob somebody? Are you just going to roll the dice and hope that the guy you're going to rob is a liberal who doesn't believe in guns? Is that what you're going to do? No, you're not going to rob anybody. Isaiah, I wish I do more videos. Yeah, thanks. I'm got stuff to do, I want to try and do 2 a week, which is, we'll see about that. Maybe if Jack wants to do some streaming, we'll do some streaming. But I like to be as busy as I can. I don't watch television all day, right? I do waste a lot of time in my day. Don't get me wrong, but I genuinely try to be productive. Like I said in many different videos, even if you just do like one productive thing a day, if you don't feel like doing anything, force yourself and push yourself to strike one thing off that list of things that you need to do. And, that's where I'm. If I have like 3 things on the list, I want to get those 3 things done. And then it's like, okay, well, now I can kind of do whatever. I can make a video. I can play a video game. I can play guitar. I can do whatever. And that's just how I am. Some days, though, that list has like 50 things on it, right? It's just life. It's just how it is. But I make an attempt not to ever push anything off the list for doing something that really is just kind of, like playing a game or, I don't know. Guitar is actually sort of productive. It's good for the brain, but, doing something that's in vain or doesn't have any fruit to it or whatever, But that's just me. That's just me. Darren Dillon makes you wonder what other police departments are operating like this and have yet to be exposed. Well, Chicago has been really, really, really corrupt since back in the gangster days, 1920s. Detroit is so bad that Detroit police said, don't even bother calling us for emergencies because we're not going to show up. I mean, that's pretty bold. Because I don't think that those guys are getting any sort of refunds on their taxes. But nobody cares because they don't live there, unless somebody actually has to deal with it or is confronted with it, they don't care. Like this lady here, she's like, well, hey, no black people live in my neighborhood, so whatever. Guess he's dead now. Who knows? You never know what they think. I know who I am, though, and if I was in a police position in those areas, how I would be. Okay, and it wouldn't just be pulling people over because they're black or treating them differently than anybody else or looking for an excuse. This is a big one. Looking for reasons where you can get away with beating them with your club, or you can maybe get away with tasing them. Right? And interpreting everything as an act of aggression. So you can tase them because it's fun. I like tasing. Which is what they're like. They're like little kids. Okay? They just can't wait. They can't wait. And body cams made a little bit of a difference until they turn them off. And it's like, well, what's the point of the body cams? Oh, the body cams are there to catch you doing something, but then when the cop wants to do something, he turns them off. And that went out the window with the George Floyd thing, where you're in very serious trouble if you turn your cam off, and which is it should be. If you don't have, it should just always be on. It should always be on, period. You're in the guy's entire shift, unless he's going into the bathroom, the camera should be on. And that's a two-edged thing is like, do I necessarily want to be filmed everywhere a cop is, even if they're not arresting me or wherever? It's like, it's a two-way thing. Well, that also lets me know that the cop is doing their job. Okay. And he is accountable to where if anybody has any problems whatsoever, the police chief gets a letter 2 weeks after the fact from some old person who says that they were bullied by such and such. That chief can go to the file and go this date, that time, pull up the guy's body cam and go, okay, what actually happened here? And it's like this. Look, guys, it's been, as far as employment goes, you're watched while you work, and it's been that way for 20 years. Even longer, probably 25. The very first job I had in like 1994, the restaurant I worked at put in cameras for insurance reasons. And a lot of companies do this for insurance reasons. They get a break if they put cameras in. It has the added benefit of being an anti-theft deterrent. It has to do with liability and who's liable for what. It makes the employees feel like they're being watched, so they do their job better. It's good. The people may not like being watched, but that's how it is. So why isn't the same thing going on with the police? Why don't they have round-the-clock surveillance on the police through their body cam? Data is cheap. This is not, 1995. How many terabytes can you put in a GoPro? How many hours is that? You can probably have a GoPro on for I bet 40 hours now. Uninterrupted, 40 hours GoPro cam, right? And yeah, that's what stuff like that needs to be implemented. You should also be able to go on the internet and go to the Brooklyn Center Police Department and click on an officer and look through their body cam. They're public servants, public employees. Isaiah says people don't want to wake up. People can't wake up, Isaiah. That was the whole point of the television rant. People can't wake up. People can't, and there's no point in talking to them. If they get this dazed look in their face and they say, oh, I'm going to go down to the clinic because my gene therapy thing just came in. And you go, why would you do that? They're like, "Oh, well, the experts say and the scientists say," and then you go, "Well, those things will kill you, and there's all sorts of problems going on all over the place." And they go, "Oh, they gave me a donut." Those people cannot be helped. Okay, it's as simple as that, and it's because of television. You can just immediately ask them how much television they watch, or you could be coy about it. Did you see this on last night? I mean, I don't even know what's on TV anymore. It's called the boob tube for a reason. Yeah, it's called tell lie vision. Tells you lies. Way more than I ever thought. I mean, it's 100% news. The news, if you want to see the most fictional thing on television, it's the news. Otherwise, there's most entertainment programming. We'll say most entertainment programming. There's a lot of elements of truth in them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be entertaining. Okay, like the movie The Matrix. That is a documentary about the world we live in, done in a sci-fi fictional kung fu way to make it more entertaining. But the reason that movie resonates with everybody is because they know it's the truth on some level. On some level, they know that is the way that it works. And let me tell you, when you're not in this zombie box, zombie apocalypse with face diapers and a people who don't know what they're doing with themselves, who have so much shame built into their lives and so little control over who they are and so much depression that they feel better wearing a mask because of the shame in their lives. When you've gotten down to that state, you know you're in the matrix and you get superpowers when you're not living in that zombie world. Okay. When you actually have the eyes to see clearly and the ears to hear what's going on around you, you are incredibly powerful compared to other people. That's all I'm really going to say about that. I might expand on it later. Dom Houston said there's nothing good on television and better stuff on YouTube. Well, for a time, the only place you could get sports for people who like watching baseball games and football, you'd have to go to the television. And like, I think that's still the way. I don't think that there is a YouTube network for like the NFL. I could be wrong on that, but let's see. What are my thoughts on medical marijuana? Well, why are there any laws against pot to begin with? It grows in the ditch. There shouldn't be any laws against pot. It's actually healthy to smoke pot. Now, if you smoke pot all day long and you watch television all day long, obviously it's not good for you. Will the pot kill you? No. Your own stupidity will. Goes just like with anything else. Rob says Ethereum is up to 2,500. Ethereum is up to 2,500. I have me some Ethereum. That's fantastic. Let's see. Yeah, I'll say if anyone's got crypto questions or anything, a lot of people are just trying to figure out how to do it. How to get set up with it and like getting on an exchange. And it's the same as signing up for anything else, except they basically want information like for your bank account. If you're going to get a bank account and whatnot. Well, that's really weird. Don't know why it did that. There it goes. The last house you had was TV in 2002. Yeah, I was thinking about that like an hour ago before I did this. Is like when was the actual last time I watched television? And I mean, like actually sat down to watch something or actually cared about the television. It was probably like 2004, 2005. And I had an apartment and I always had the television on. It was weird like that. It was like I was lonely and I needed something talking in the background, but I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. And the only thing I would actually kind of watch was NASCAR. I didn't watch any television shows or anything like that. Um, and then around 2008, I didn't have anything. So, different places I live, people would watch like Turner Classic Movies or something and whatever. I mean, yeah, it's been at least 15 years. Not sure says, what am I holding? Well, Bitcoin. Everything else is just to play around with. The only thing that, as far as for cryptocurrencies in the long term where you're just holding on to it and you're not doing anything with it, it's just Bitcoin. That's all you need. And anything else I'm invested in is just playing around and hoping that it makes a little money so I can get more Bitcoin. The whole system and the whole name of the game is to get as much Bitcoin as you can. It's not about anything else. All this other crypto stuff and all these other markets, it doesn't matter what they're doing. Just get Bitcoin. And that's it. Now, if you want to play around and be in the casino and roll the dice on, whatever XYZ new coin is out there, then you can certainly make a lot of money at that. But if you think, let's see, we can look at the percentage change. Zircoin. Okay. If you think that Zircoin, which I've never heard of before ever in my life, is going to be here 5 years from now, you're completely mistaken. If you think you're going to put your entire life savings and you think Tesla or you think Apple or anybody is going to invest in Zoocoin, whatever it is, no, I don't care if it went up 1.6 million%. That means it wasn't worth anything to begin with. Okay. Now, can you get in on stuff when it's less than a penny and buy 1,000 shares for just about nothing? And then when it hits 5 cents, you can make a couple grand. Sure. And then you take your couple grand and you put it into Bitcoin. Okay. That's how you do it. But you'd never put like thousands of dollars into these crappy altcoins. Ethereum is the best of them. But even they have just a huge number of problems. And when you look at where money is going, they say, well, Ethereum, is number 2 and it's up there around $2,500. And it's like, okay, so it's 1/30th the size of Bitcoin. Okay. It doesn't matter what Ethereum does. It's never going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the one that's accepted all over the world. This is the one that investment platforms are investing in. It doesn't matter how good any other coin on the market is, how great XRP is great. It's XRP is this, XRP is that. Oh, look at the Wonder coin is wonderful. It does all these things that Bitcoin doesn't do. The problem is it doesn't matter because people like Bitcoin. Okay. Now the reason that people like Bitcoin is because it's a limited supply and it's a limited release to like 1 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. It's a limited supply. So it preserves what it's worth. Okay, you can say Ethereum is up to $2,500. Well, the guy that made Ethereum, he can say that I'm going to triple the amount of Ethereum that's out there. So instead of having 115 million Ethereum, I'm arbitrarily going to say that we're going to have 500 million Ethereum or 2 billion or 6 trillion or whatever Ethereum. It doesn't matter. That means you go from $2,500 price down to about $1. All right. And that's what all of these have that problem. All of them do. That doesn't mean you can't make money in the short term or play around with it a little bit, like a little casino machine. Sure. But if you want to store your value and you want to make sure that you're not losing your money to inflation, okay, you need to be in Bitcoin. And I watched a little bit more of Michael Saylor's stuff. He has his own he actually owns Michael.com. And I suggest that everybody goes and watches everything that's on his page. All of his interviews where he talks about all this stuff. He made the point very clear in his analysis that because we're losing 25% of our buying capacity in our money because of all the printing, in order for a business to stay profitable, they have to find a way to preserve their money plus 25%. So where you could invest your $500 million savings plan in a business, you couldn't normally would invest in bonds and in stocks and these things, which return about 10%. Well, you're still losing 15% of your wealth every single year. So the only thing you can do is put it into Bitcoin, which goes up 200% minimum since it's first was put out onto the market. Every year, 200, 200, 200, 200, 200%, to where all of a sudden, when they start passing these bills with the old Rona, right? And they start printing out trillions and trillions of dollars, Bitcoin hyper goes up because the money is inflated like that. The money system is inflated. That's what it is. Where would if they didn't print all of that money, Bitcoin wouldn't be at 62,000. It probably would be at 40,000. But they printed the money, and they are going to continue to print money. And that's just all there is to it. And so any business, there's already a whole bunch that are invested into Bitcoin, but any business who does not want to lose their wealth, if they're holding on to any cash reserves, which a lot of businesses don't want to do, but if they're holding on to any cash, they have to put it into Bitcoin, because the only other option is to try to increase their own revenue by 25%, which is, according to Michael Saylor, basically impossible to increase your revenue by 25% every year. Okay. And he would know. He's been the CEO of his company for 40 years and been in that business. His business is actually specifically in business technology and all of this stuff. So anyways, people should check that out. Yeah. Rob, you're asking me about Monero. I own Monero too. I own just a little tiny bit so I can have a wallet on an exchange. And Monero is another one where, see, here's the thing is I'm poor, right? And I don't have enough money that the government would ever care about me for any reason. I don't have an income that I would even have to file taxes on. You need to make like 25 grand a year to have to file taxes. So I have that stuff and I know all about that stuff. But for right now, I mean, unless Bitcoin goes to 200,000 tomorrow or something, I won't even if Bitcoin goes to 200,000, I wouldn't owe any taxes until I pull money out. So that's the other thing too about Bitcoin is you're not taxed on it. All right. You put all your money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes way, 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 way up. Unless you pull out all of your Bitcoin, you're not paying taxes on that. You just take out like, $1,000 to pay bills here and there. Your tax obligation is almost nothing. It's only when you go from Bitcoin to Federal Reserve is there any tax obligation. So you can take $50 every paycheck and throw it into Bitcoin, and after a few months you have something. And then if Bitcoin doubles in price or triples in price, you don't have to worry about that on your taxes until you take it out. And what you shouldn't do right now is hold. Okay. That's what you need to be doing. Monero, for people who don't know, is a privacy coin where Bitcoin, one of the things that's a positive and a negative is that all of the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, you can track where money is going, sort of. You can say this amount of money in this address is going over to this address, and it looks like part of that money was used to go over here to go buy this. It looks like it's very trackable and traceable, but it's like your digital dollars are, right? When you use your credit card, they know where all that money is going to. I look at that as a positive in that you can't counterfeit anything. So if the government uses Bitcoin for anything, which they won't, because they can't counterfeit anything with it. That's why the government doesn't want to use crypto, because you can't just poof money into existence unless you're XRP, all you XRP guys out there, your centralized banking system with XRP. Hey, yeah, XRP is up. It could go up to $10. And I'm like, no, it wouldn't, because they're going to just generate more XRP out of thin air because it benefits them to have the cost of XRP low. Okay. And yes, it's a good product for something like a central banking system. Is it a good investment? I don't think so. Is it a way you'd want to save your money? No, because that's the beast system. You want to be in charge of your own account decentralized. The other thing Bitcoin has going for it that no one else does is the tens of thousands of independent nodes that are each keeping up the blockchain. So no matter what happens, your Bitcoin is secure because you ain't going to shut down tens of thousands of nodes where all this information is stored all across the world. It's not possible. You'd have to shut down the internet entirely. And we already know that isn't going to happen. All the disasters and all the troubles and all the things that have gone down over the last 20 years in America, the internet's not one of them. All right. So there's that. Oh, and on the privacy coin issue, if you want to hide your assets, say you put your life savings or you take out a huge loan or you mortgage your house to go into Dogecoin or something, which was like a fraction of a penny. And now it looks like it's up to 20 cents. So if you bought it at a fraction of a penny and now you sold it at 20 cents, you're a multi-bajillionaire, right? And as soon as you take out you want to go buy a yacht, as soon as you take out $1 million, here comes the tax man. Give me my 50%, right? Well, you can transfer your Dogecoin into Bitcoin, transfer your Bitcoin into Monero, take your Monero, put it down to your wallet, put it up on a different exchange and play around with it enough. And if it goes through privacy coins, nobody knows where that money went. Okay. It's as though you'd never have had it. But, I mean, to some people, if I'm ever have hundreds of millions of dollars, I'll care about that. To me, it's just not that big of a thing. Cause if you got less than like $100,000 playing around on the markets, you think the government cares? Yeah. I don't think the government really cares. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. It's just not something that I'm worried about. Right. In order to find out, if you bought Bitcoin on an exchange and you send it all directly to your wallet, which if you have a large supply of Bitcoin, you should send it to your wallet so the exchange does not have your Bitcoin. So your personal wallet that's on your computer or a hard wallet, or on your phone or whatever, the amount of work that the government has to do to find you in your Bitcoin, it costs way more than anything they're ever going to get. They hire a digital analyzer guy to go through and go find where this Bitcoin address is going to over here and what happened to it and what happened to it. And the reality of the situation is, if anyone ever asks you, oh, it looks like you bought, 10,000 in Bitcoin or 100,000 in Bitcoin on Coinbase and it's not on the thing, whatever happened to it? You go, well, I had a boating accident. Oh, I bought something and I sent it off to them and they never got it. Apparently. I don't know. I mean, who's to say what happened to any of it? And the only one who is really trying to get everybody's information about everything is the United States. Okay. None of the other crypto exchanges have any of this crap where you got to do like you're signing up for a bank account, so it's all just a United States thing. And honestly, I'm not too worried about it, but I'm prepared for any eventuality. In case they decide to make some of my cryptos illegal or Bitcoin illegal, which they can't. They've already declared it fine. So Bitcoin will never be illegal. Regulation could come through for these things, certainly. Whatever happens in the future, I do have some. And my my wallet does support Monero. But it doesn't support. I mean, that's the biggest problem with getting into cryptos and all these different things you want to get is that you don't have a solution that solves all your problems, right? Like your wallet only supports 3 out of the 5 cryptos that you want, and you end up with this kind of hodgepodge of stuff, which will hopefully get ironed out in the future. And like I said, it doesn't matter because people are new to this stuff. Just buy Bitcoin. That's it. Just buy Bitcoin. And then if you're really interested in it, learn about all these other coins and what they're due. And what I've actually myself is I just do things that I sort of believe in. Right. And then I don't care if they lose money or make money. I kind of believe in what they're trying to do. And then I can't be unhappy when something that I paid $5 a share for goes down to 50 cents, which I've never seen happen. Typically right now we're in this bubble phase, kind of like the .com. I know a lot of you guys maybe don't remember the .com boom, but where everybody was just investing in any sort of web page anywhere because they were told that internet pages make money, right? So it was this big, huge bubble. There's one right now in crypto called the NFT market, which I won't even get into, but that's a bubble. And then when it pops, then everyone goes bankrupt. But on that ride up where everyone's investing, everyone's making money. And that's where crypto is at right now, where your coins that are worthless, Dogecoin in particular, which is probably up here, Dogecoin in particular was created as a coin, as a meme to make fun of crypto. But now people are heavily invested in it. It went from a fraction of a penny now to 21 cents today. I mean, that's how crypto is. It doesn't matter how good or how much utility a coin brings. All that matters is public perception and whether or not you can make money off it. GameStop is another perfect example. GameStop is a terrible company that is hated by gamers, the very people that they're supposed to be selling to. That's why they're out of business. But people kind of believe in the old, they like the idea of having a physical storefront where they can go in and get used video games and get physical copies of games. So even though they don't like GameStop, they'll still put money into it because they like the concept of it. And also, they figured out the system to where they're so leveraged, it's impossible to lose money on that deal. It's impossible. GameStop is still like 100, 110 or $150, right? So people have figured out a way. All that matters is public perception. So it doesn't matter how many coins out there are better than Bitcoin. The public knows Bitcoin. Bitcoin is available everywhere. Now people say, see, it's the New World Order. And it's like, well, if the New World Order is in control of every single private node out there for Bitcoin, you know, if I was running Bitcoin as the New World Order, I probably would have put in all sorts of other little goodies in there that aren't in Bitcoin. You know, there's all sorts of tracker stuff. If you want the New World Order currency, you're going to buy XRP. And, you know, that's how it is. Dom's asking, what are your thoughts of people saying we are getting raptured soon? They've been saying they've been dreams, but kind of doubt it, saying it for 2 years now. Well, the thing is that we don't know when the rapture is going to be. It could be right now. Generally, we don't believe that there is a reason for people to be raptured until you really get close to where you have the 7-year tribulation. And the reason that the events of the tribulation transpire the way that they do is because when the body of Christ leaves, the Holy Ghost is gone from the earth. Okay, it might come in and dwell certain people here and there, but it's going to be like the Old Testament where people had the Holy Ghost for certain reasons and to accomplish certain tasks. Right now, all Christians have the Holy Ghost in them. And so when the Holy Ghost is gone off the earth, you know, sin is going to be all over the place and people are going to be completely different because there is no more God-focused morality to go, hey, that's bad. You know, you shouldn't. Do you see this guy is the false prophet? This guy is Satan. You know, I mean, won't be anybody there. So that is what causes a lot of these events to really ramp up. But the thing is that if you take that time perspective, I'm like, well, I don't know why I'd be gone now. There's still a lot of work that can be done. The younger generation doesn't really watch television. They're mostly tied into YouTube and mostly tied into things that are on their phone. And I don't know if that's a positive or a negative yet, but it seems to me once the old boomers go and the Gen Xers are out of here, the millennials and then whatever the thing is after it, Gen Z, once those guys are in, you know, we'll see what happens because these guys have been watching YouTube where a lot of truth still was. Now they're scrubbing everything off of YouTube. They're scrubbing everything off of Facebook, whatever. But there still is a lot of truth out there. And these kids see what the future is that, you know, the old boomers left us and then Gen X in turn leaves them, you know, and where this whole thing is going. And I think that that's a real, if any point for like a rapture thing is really when that generation is more, I mean, it's called Gen Z. I don't know if there's anything to that, but when that generation is up to where they're in more control and more power, kind of like where Gen X is right now, then, you know, we're looking at what's going on where we can have our divide and our rapture thing going. But if you look at where it is right this particular second, you've got a whole bunch of, mind controlled zombie people with their masks on who are waiting in line to go get gene therapy that the sign on the door says will kill you or have severe complications from. Whatevs, right? They give you a donut. So you go down there and you go do that. And then you have the other people that are like, what? And the people who refuse to do that are put up there at the equal level of any sort of terrible thing you could possibly do. It's like sort of like if they catch a pedophile guy in a sex ring or something. And then the number one thing is going to be in the news article. It's going to be anti-masker pedophile caught in sex ring is going to be the news article, right? And that's where we're at right now, where people who think straight are automatically equated with criminals. And, so we have our divide going now, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. That's it. Is just see how it plays out. And in the meantime, protect your stuff. Go get yourself some Bitcoin. As far as the rapture thing, I talk about that stuff on different geared live streams. It's pretty well the focus of my channel is primarily a religious themed channel. And if I'm not talking about Christianity or the Bible, I'm talking about how Christianity and biblical principles apply to your life and how you should go about doing things. Bitcoin doesn't really fit into that, but it's a preservation of wealth and it's an important thing for people to do to kind of protect themselves. And it's about having options, right? Because a lot of people, there's a lot of doom and gloomers out there like Alex Jones and these other people are like, look at what's going on over here. Can you believe the Illuminati is doing this? Oh, look at that. The government's going to, the Chi-Com is going to come and round us up and put us into slave pens and blah, blah. And I hate that. I hate that. I'm all about doing solutions. These are what the problems are. And this is how you can mitigate some of these problems. And this is going to give you more freedom if you do this, that, or the other thing. And this is how these things have benefited me in my life. That is what I try and do. And this is where Bitcoin falls into that. If you can't afford to get out of where you live and you live in Brooklyn Center or you live in North Minneapolis or something like that, put what you can into Bitcoin. Eventually you're going to have enough Bitcoin there where you can go wherever you want. Right. And that's the idea. That's the idea. That's my plan anyway. I can't afford to buy a new property and I can't afford to rent anywhere while I would wait for my property to sell. So I would have money to go somewhere. So I am stuck too. And I'm like, well, we'll put money in Bitcoin and hopefully she'll go up enough where I can maybe buy some property or, have more options going forward. I'm not a very happy camper with the town that I live in, but I do have to deal with it. And I'm going to try and mitigate, do the things you can. You're not going to solve everything in a day, and you can only move as fast as God wants you to move. But you still have to start walking in the right directions. Rob says BitConnect. I'm not familiar with BitConnect. Not sure, says I got it figured out. Well, how would I know? You're not even sure. I like that movie, by the way. I was watching it way before it was in vogue, right? Now everybody knows that movie. Still a good movie. Is it going to be the summer of 2020 all over again? I don't know what the plans are. Generally, they'll probably do riots. They'll have Black Lives Matter doing something. But I'm pretty sure the mask thing is kind of done because there's certain states that are just done with it. And like Florida never complied with any of the mask garbage anyway in their state. So those people, they just ignored it. And that's what the response should be from the American people, is just to ignore whatever crap that they say. But they're plugged into the television. So they're going to do what the TV tells them. And then they're going to look around and make sure everyone else is doing the thing too. And if they see someone that's not doing the same thing, they go, hey, he's not doing the thing. He's not doing the thing. Police officer lady, shoot him. He's not doing the thing. I think he's a pedophile, rapist, porn runner. He's not wearing a mask. And then the lady comes up and tases you and off you go, you know. Um, but yeah, you know, it's not a good idea to live in the cities, and you should do what you can to get out. And, you know, Bitcoin is a great place to store your money while you're saving up. Don't keep it in a bank. Don't keep your money in a bank. Even if you just keep your money in a brown paper sack under your bed, that's better than keeping it in a bank. All right. Just telling you. You never know what kind of crazy crap they'll do when they run out of money. AMTB, or when everyone's running off a cliff, the one who's running the other way looks crazy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Demons being released in the end times. Are we here for that? I don't know what you mean about the demons being released. I mean, the demons are already here. Biblical term of devils. They're already here. They're hanging out, manipulating people, possessing some people. They've never went anywhere. And we know this because of where Jesus was casting devils out of people all through his ministry, and of course in the Old Testament. So yeah, why you would think that they would ever have gone? No, they didn't go anywhere. They're still here. Isaiah says you need a job. Yeah. Well, you know, you can go out and go mow lawns when the weather gets better. Nothing wrong with mowing lawns. Rob says BitConnect was a scam. Well, I'm glad I never heard about it. You know, a lot of them are. A lot of these coins are now on Coinbase. These ones are vetted in that it takes a while to get on Coinbase, and Coinbase has a whole board committee of people that goes through and approves these different things that they're going to do business with. And they're the largest guys in the United States. Coinbase is. So that's not saying that they're 100% scam proof or something. I'm just saying that they're pretty well vetted. But by the time that they get on Coinbase, your coin that used to cost, you know, a fraction of a penny, when it gets onto Coinbase, it's probably worth 25 cents, right? So you're not going to make this astronomical huge profit if you're just looking at Coinbase stuff. Dogecoin was kind of the exception. Dogecoin and XRP were kind of the exception. But typically by the time something is on Coinbase, it's already worth like 20, 30 bucks or 15 bucks, you know, where you can't buy like 10 million for 50 bucks. You know, I got my 10 million Dogecoin, and then Dogecoin goes from a fraction of a penny to a penny. And now you're a multimillionaire. Okay. You pretty well have to do your research and know crypto well enough to where you can go to different exchanges, find what you want, purchase what you want as privately and securely as you can, and immediately transfer it to a personal wallet and immediately transfer it up to your whatever exchange account you have to use. Because let me tell you, a lot of coins, like we're talking about Monero, we're talking Monero and Pirate Chain and things like these that are privacy coins, very hard to get in the United States because Coinbase won't touch them. I don't think Binance US will touch them, and maybe Binance will. I had to get Monero from Kraken. So there are only certain exchanges where you can even get some of these coins that they don't want because they are too private. And they don't want any sort of, they don't want the government SEC coming after them for selling privacy coins. So if you want some stuff like that, you know, you have to go other places and know your stuff. All I recommend is just buying Bitcoin. And everything else is advanced Bitcoinery, advanced cryptocurrency chicanery. Placeboing on YouTube is hilarious. He had a funny video on BitConnect. Yeah. Do Christian movies reviews again. I don't have PureFlix anymore. Otherwise, I probably would. Don't have PureFlix. Maybe someday. I don't think about it. I mean, I used to watch a lot more movies. You know, it's just I can't directly even think of why that has changed. But I used to watch a couple of movies a week, or watch something on PureFlix. There really hasn't been anything out there that's even been worth watching. And yeah, just doing other stuff. The last year has been amazing. A lot of people are like, oh, it was terrible. We're going to face diapers and we got to do this and we got to do that. And it's like, I have been absolutely enamored with seeing how the system's working and where people's heads are at in it. And also just the amount of information and the amount of truth that I've been able to absorb over the last year is astounding. And, I'm moving on into other things. Like I'm doing woodworking for whatever reason. I thought that'd be a good idea and that's fun. And so I completely don't even know what's going on out in the culture scene. And even the superhero movies that used to be out like every 2 weeks, we'd always go check those out. They used to be like every week, every month, there'd be a new superhero thing. And of course, with Hollywood shut down, it's not even that. So apparently that's all on like Disney, and who's going to get a Disney Plus account? Yeah. So, and unfortunately, PureFlix, I'm not the kind of person, I'm not going to sign up for a subscription pay service to watch one episode of one movie or something, so I find other ways to get it. Right. And that's fine because I never would pay for it anyways. Right. So PureFlix, though, because they're so obscure little movies and they're all like private indie films, it's impossible to even watch anything that they have up there because you're not going to be able to find it anywhere except PureFlix. I still recommend it. I still like it. It's way better than, Netflix if you want something wholesome for your family to watch. It got to a point where I'd seen just about everything that was on PureFlix, and they don't release stuff very often, so I canceled it. Oh, here comes Frank right at the tail end of the stream. Where were you 96 minutes ago, Frank? Where were you 96 minutes ago? We could talk about the Popo and Dogecoin and Bitcoin. And as Jeff Berwick would say, and tacos and kisses. Right. So anyways, as far as things like Bitcoin go, yeah. Looking at this chart graph, why you would have any questions or hesitations about going into Bitcoin? It just goes up, right? And again, if you want somebody who is qualified to tell you why the price is going up and can go through every single little metric about how you're basically working for free for the government, and you want to go through all of that, go to Michael.com. Okay. Michael.com or hope.com. I think he said he owns those. He's crazy things that billionaires do with their money. And that's Michael Saylor's page, and go to his video section and you can listen to him do all these interviews, and you can tell the guy's not running off a script. You can tell he's kind of like maybe autistic in a good way, where he has all these figures in his head and he's a little twitchy, right? But every single interview, you can tell he's not even thinking about it. He's going right off the top of his head. He's not running off on any sort of script. He's not trying to hit bullet points, right? And he can explain exactly why every company is going to have to invest into Bitcoin. Otherwise, they're going to go out of business. And that's an American thing, all right? Maybe not these other places in these other countries, but every country has to do business in US dollars because we have the biggest guns. We have an army and guns, and we say you have to do that. So if our dollars are inflating by 25%, theirs are too in these other countries. So you got to save your profits. You're going to have to go into Bitcoin. So naturally, it's good it's not just for the rich people. It's for everybody. Frank says you're not getting any notifications. Yeah, that's not surprising. Most people don't for my live streams. Jeff Berwick, the New Age stuff. Rob, Jeff Berwick is not really, no. He's more like an agnostic person who knows God is real. He just doesn't know who it is yet. But the things that he is doing, there's nothing satanic about what he's doing. He talks a lot about meditating and stuff like that, which is not inherently satanic. Understanding that God is real and he can see God in everything leads me to believe that, you're about as close to saved can be if he's not, right? I mean, who knows? Jeff Berwick doesn't talk openly about specifically Jesus Christ, but who knows? He's not lying about any of the things that he says. He is perhaps, now I can't prove or disprove or anything. He is perhaps getting in on things like Pirate Chain and other different cryptocurrencies, and then announcing them to the world, a year later, trying to pump them up so he can dump them for profit. Perhaps, but he's a crypto stock guy. And that's kind of to be expected. He's already mentioned that when Bitcoin hits 500,000, him and a lot of other Bitcoiners that have millions in Bitcoin are going to drop it and go to Monero. And that's going to dump the market briefly. They've already talked about that. So I don't put rig and markets a little bit beyond him because, it's a game. Honestly, it's a game. Life in itself is a game. All these things that, why are these terrible things happen to me? It's like, so you can figure out how to overcome them. That's the whole game. It's like you imagine playing a board game with someone, you're playing Monopoly and it says go to jail and they go, oh, now I'm in jail. Now what do I do? Well, you got to roll to get out of there, pay $200. I don't wanna, just give up. Right. That's not how games work. You're going to keep struggling and keep going, keep making yourself better. And, striving for better understanding. And that's what the whole thing is about. And of course, worship God. That's the deal. Because you're going to go through some rough crap as a Christian and you need God there to help you out. Ain't no question. No question there. So that's what I have on that. If anyone doesn't have any more questions, I've been going for long enough. Frank, if you're going to do a stream or something, let me know. I can hop on there today or tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm probably going to go over and see if I can find some flat earth trouble to get into. I don't know. And maybe do something up there. I did get my background up. I'm all happy about that. It's kind of a pain to break out the lights and everything and get my background going. But now I look professional, right? I still got, my dirty flannel jacket. And then we cleaned up the guitars in the background and now we're coming to you from the beach. Right. It's wonderful. And even I think it's funny that I have a Denlinger costume where I have the same thing on, except my costume, I have 3 pairs of these shirts. They all look the same. And then I have a blue one also. So they are different, but I kind of get a kick out of the fact that I'm always wearing the same thing like Denlinger. I got my NASA hat on too. So I'm all in uniform. Flat Earth vids are epic. Thanks, Isaiah. So, okay, that's what I have on that, guys. You all take care. Have a good one. Try to look in, the world is very easy to focus on bad things in the world, right? Why do they believe in this? Look at this. Oh, they're trying to stick me with this or that, or, oh, I need to do this for my job, or blah, 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 blah. But try and find the good things. Okay. This police officer getting thrown in jail for doing a dumb thing is a good thing. Having the reform in the police movement that is not just in Minneapolis, but it's going from all these different areas where they're having problems, subduing the natives or whatever, like Portland, Oregon, and these different places where they have these huge conflicts over race and, police being big meanies, where they have all these problems. They're trying to go through reform and doing the right thing, right? Be thankful the weather is being somewhat decent now. We're coming into summertime. Get out there and get your gardens going and do something positive and don't sit and dwell on all of this stuff. So that's about what we got with that. And yeah, anything else, I'll throw it into the comment section and maybe YouTube will let it stay. So with that, guys, I think we are going to be out of here.